So this is a sidq, that a person needs to be, all of us need to be reminded about this. The second general characteristic that has begun to infiltrate into some of us Muslims, unfortunately, is al-kibr, is arrogance. What is arrogance? Is arrogance to dress well? Is arrogance to eat well? Is it to drive well? Is that arrogance? Not really. That's not the arrogance that the Prophet Muhammad was highlighting. Even at times it can lead to some form of arrogance, but that's not the real arrogance. If a person wears good shoes or wears good clothing. What is al-kibr? Al-kibr batarul haqq wa khamtun nas, is to reject the truth and to despise people, to look lowly upon people, to look down upon individuals. That's a bad characteristic. In general, unfortunately, we find that kibr in its various shades, in its various colors, it exists, unfortunately, in the Muslim Ummah, whether it be the ultimate level of kibr that we find that came from shaitan, ana khayrun minhu khalaqtani min nar wa khalaqtahu min teen, I'm better than him, created me from fire and created him from clay. That's why we find, even today, some Muslim fractions say that I'm better than him. But what do you find in the hadith? La fadla li arabi ala ajami wa la ajami ala arabi. There's no preference of an Arab over a non-Arab, a non-Arab over an Arab, a white over a black over white, a yellow, etc. There's no difference. But unfortunately, what do we find? Sometimes people may try to shy away from it. There is mass amount of racism in the Muslim Ummah. A mass amount of racism, no matter what anyone says. The reality is that it exists in various colors and various disguises. We are full of this bad characteristic, which should not really be existing if we are supposed to be reclaiming the sunnah and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ amongst all of ourselves, to question ourselves that do we really, truthfully, follow the real teachings? So that's another element that needs to be absorbed from us. Likewise, find the other disguise of arrogance that you find today, of the practicing Islam, unfortunately, that sometimes one fraction, a young Muslim, may think he's better than another Muslim. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Don't claim sanctity for yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who are the pious individuals. So how can one Muslim think they're better than another Muslim? Maybe the Muslim doesn't pray or whatever it may be, or they just learn about Islam. No. Person should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inside their heart. Did not one day someone take you by the hand and highlight to you, look my brother, this is not correct, this is haram, this is halal, you should pray, you should fast, you should be observant of the rituals? Or did someone take you and speak to you in a hard manner, be harsh towards you, rebuke you, shout at you? Obviously that's not the way that most of us have been taught in our lives. So likewise we have to return the same way that someone taught us with love and affection and with good words. And thus you find that good words will only beautify something. And thus you find that the person who's repulsive and in an incorrect manner will only come with more disgust. So this is another type of arrogance that we find that some people, unfortunately, even amongst our own selves at times, that we begin to belittle other individuals. So Muslims should be vigilant that this doesn't become their characteristic, this doesn't become their general behavior. Rather they become a person. Muhammadur Rasulullah وَالَّذِينَ مَعُهُ شِدَّةُ الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. The Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, stern and harsh towards the disbelievers when the time is right. They can't always be stern and harsh towards the disbelievers, but all the time, ruhama bainahum, merciful, compassionate towards the believers. And sometimes I ponder and I think that sometimes this ayah has been turned around. It's quite harsh or rude or incorrect to make this statement, but sometimes you see that people are always bending backwards for ruhama ila al-kuffar, merciful and compassionate towards disbelievers, ashidda ala al-mu'mineen, harsh towards their own believers around them. وَخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. The Quran says, lower the wings of mercy for the believers. Show compassion, respect towards the believers, care towards the believers. That's how a Muslim should be towards another Muslim, irrespective of whatever problems they may have. That is what the da'wah of the Prophet Muhammad is. A da'wah of shafaqah, as the end of Surah Tawbah mentions. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. The end of Surah Tawbah. Once again, there's come a messenger from amongst your own selves. It troubles him, it worries him, gets upset harisun alaykum, forever over worried about you, that you're turning away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is merciful and He's kind towards the believers. Is that how we as Muslims are generally towards other Muslims? Does another Muslim feel that from us? That we are showing them some love, some affection? Or are we showing them the characteristics of anger, the characteristics of pride, the characteristics of maybe, may Allah forbid, of pushing people away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?